Chanel Hall, which is my daughter. She's 2 years old now, and she was born at 28 weeks old. She was 1 pound, 6 ounces. August to November, she was there receiving treatment. Now she's great. She's so smart, mischievous sometimes. She also likes to get into things. She likes to build things. I call her a little engineer. She's fun. She laughs. She does have some delays, like in growth, due to her prematurity. She's like still in the 5 percentile range of growth for children her age. But she runs, plays, laughs, does everything a 2-year-old would do. She's just a tiny thing, but she's gorgeous. I love her. So also updates from the physician. Normally when your baby is in the NICU, the physician is supposed to call you either at the beginning of the day, once they've done their rounds, or the end of the day. But still, to help relieve some of the anxieties I had, I always would follow up if they didn't contact me. And I would I would intentionally ask for the bed number where my baby was, because there's a phone by each baby. So if you call that number, then they'll answer the phone, and all your information is on the wall behind the baby. So that made it a lot easier as well. Because it was such a shortage of lactation specialists, it was better for me to call to see how long they were going to be there and when they're available. I think you can even make appointments with them. So let's say if I wasn't able to meet with the lactation specialist today, I can make an appointment for tomorrow, sometime between 9 and 4. Okay, I want to come in at 2 to see the baby. I'm going to be at the hospital between 2 and 5. Can you please make sure, you come to our section of the NICU to help me with breastfeeding education from between 2 and 5. And they'll leave that message for the lactation specialist, and she'll come between those hours. In the beginning, it was because she was so small. So when my nipple was too large for her mouth. So it was hard for her to make sure she was latched properly. So that's what I really needed the lactation specialist for, because she could be there and she could be working. And mind you, she's a micro preemie, so she's working and working. That's a lot of work on her part, especially with her heart, with her breathing. So if she wasn't latched right, I kind of felt defeated in a sense, because it's like she was trying to feed for 20 minutes and she wasn't really getting much because she wasn't latched properly. But when it worked and it felt good. But on those days that I had difficulty, it was really frustrating. When you're in the NICU, it's a small area kind of sectioned off into different rooms. So there's a lot of beeping going on. It's really noisy at times because there's so many machines that are helping to keep our babies healthy and breathing and heart rates going and monitoring how they're doing. So I love the fact that they have the curtains, because sometimes there's a lot of movement and there are other moms and nurses that are working on other babies. So it's nice to be able to close the curtain, put your baby next to you, skin to skin on your chest. That was like one of the best times in the NICU. I would even if I was wearing a blouse like this, I would just pop my little baby inside right there on my chest, just so that she was near my heart. And then, as she's on me skin to skin, you could even feel her body relax. And that was like one of the most fascinating, amazing things that I liked to do in the NICU with bonding, because it's like your baby being in the womb. They feel protected, they feel comforted. And now that they're out, they can really be really tense because you're not there. They can sense that you're not there. So when you're there and they can smell you and be on you, it's a beautiful thing just to know you're there to support them, and that they can feel it in their body, like completely relaxes. They knock out. Sometimes I would play like music really low so I don't disturb any of the other babies or parents, but like a little soft music. Some of the music I used to play on top of my belly when baby was inside, I play some of that music too to help comfort her. And then another great thing is they always ask you if you want water. Like, if you want water, you want some ice, you want a snack when you're there. Me, I'm the snack queen, so I would bring like string cheese, mandarin oranges, try to bring little snacks in there because sometimes you're there for 4 or 5 hours at a time, depending on what you're doing and what time frame you have. So I would try to bring little healthy snacks to snack on in between breastfeeding and spending time with baby. Yeah, it can get stressful, especially A number one stressor for me was the board. There's a board that they write on for moms. It'll tell you who the nurse is, who the doctor is, how many pounds baby has gained in the last 12 hours. And so as you see the weight go up, you get excited because usually once baby reaches a certain weight, that's a milestone and that gets them closer to coming home. So it'll be like days where her weight would be up and I'll be like, yes. And then maybe a week later it'll go down. I'm like, oh. So it's just nice to have that information in the background so you know how baby is doing, how baby's developing, and not have to. That's a good thing too. So you don't have to ask those questions of the nurse when she's working on other babies. It's right there on the board behind baby, so you can see how baby's been developing since you've been away. Even if it's like only 5 hours, like one shift later, they updated every shift, so you know. So it makes you feel like there's progress being made every time you come in to see baby. For me, a good way to cope with worries and fears is to write down my questions. When I was in the NICU and I was breastfeeding, there's a million things going through my mind. I always made sure that I brought a notebook because believe it or not, you're not going to remember all those things you're thinking about, especially I'm a mom of 5. So as soon as I leave the hospital, I'm going to take care of other children. I'm not going to remember what I was thinking when I was sitting there. So I always had a notebook and I always made sure that I wrote down questions to ask the nurses or physicians that were on shift or that would be on the next shift. So that way, any anxiety or concerns I had regarding baby, they would be available for me to ask. And then also regarding discharge, because sometimes you go home and like, I wish my baby was here. So I always will write down, milestones that needed to happen before baby could come home. And then as she grew and developed and I was able to check them off, you kind of have a way of tracking, okay, she's no longer on oxygen. Check. No longer has a feeding tube. Check. Oh, she's 5.5 pounds. In order to go home, she needs to be 6 pounds. Check. So as you go down that list, it's really encouraging to see that, oh, okay, things are getting better. It is getting closer for her to possibly come home. She is getting better. So it's good to write it down because sometimes when you see that physical list, it'll help calm some of the anxieties you have about baby coming home. And then get as much rest as possible while you're away from baby. Know that the doctors and nurses that are in the NICU are doing everything they can to take care of your baby. If anything is going to go wrong, they will call you. They will let you know. So try to even turn off your phone if you have to at least get a minimum amount of hours of rest, because the best way for you to take care of your baby is for you to take care of yourself. And it's not going to happen if you're not well. Baby's going to sense that, and it's not going to be good. So just make sure that you're taking care of yourself so that you can take care of your baby. It's okay to ask for help. I am a single mom. It is hard for me to ask for help because I'm usually somehow being superwoman, taking care of everything. At least that's what people tell me. But don't be afraid to ask for help and don't feel bad about asking for help, because it's really important for you to be able to have periods of rest, especially if you have to commute back and forth to the NICU. It's very tiresome. It takes a lot of energy, and just being in there, the stress of, breastfeeding, the stress of seeing your baby in distress is very stressful. It takes a toll on you. So being able to even have a support person go with you to the hospital. I had my sister come with me. I had the doctors there to support me too if I had questions, but having someone who's able to go with you to support you and then maybe have that connection and bonding with the baby, that helps a lot as well, because then you don't feel so overwhelmed with the responsibility being all on you. You have your person of support. So even if it's grandma, your spouse, auntie, that's really, really important. The major things I wish I was educated on before Chanel was born is preeclampsia, and what it is, what it does to mommy, what it does to baby, how you can be proactive once you find out you have it, and like how to manage once you know that you have this condition, and what to look for, like what symptoms to look for. I wish I had known that prior. I also wish I had known that I could get breast milk, like donated breast milk from the hospital while my baby was in the NICU, because that really would have helped a lot when it came to not producing as much milk as I needed to produce, so that I wouldn't have to use formula as an alternative. Formula is really hard. I have a history of that, my baby's being allergic to it. So I was already anxious about even having to supplement formula for Chanel because I've had issues in the past with my other children. So I really wish that I had known that I could receive donor milk from the NICU, even because my baby's a preemie, like she's put at the top. That would have eased my anxiety and helped a lot with my breastfeeding frustrations. Those are like the two major things: knowing more about preeclampsia, gestational diabetes, how it affects your body, how it affects baby during the growth process before delivery, and then even how it affects baby and mom after delivery, because it still affects you, especially preeclampsia. After you deliver your baby, you're still at risk. And then I wish that more moms knew how to advocate for themselves while in the NICU. Me, I'm a mom that likes to ask a lot of questions. I like to know what's going on. So sometimes I'm even scared to ask certain questions, but I'll write it down, but I always go back later. Or if they ask me, are you sure about something? Do you have anything that you want to ask? I'll go to my notebook. I think it's really important that moms in the NICU feel comfortable communicating with nurses and physicians, because that's the best way for all of us to know what's going on with baby and then be supportive of one another. Hey mamas, you got this. Don't give up. Be resilient, stay persistent. Babies love you, they need you. I encourage you to breastfeed. It's best for baby, and keep pushing. It'll go by and you'll look back on it and you say, I did that. I'm super mom. So don't give up. Stay encouraged.